This morning, a United Airlines passenger is facing federal charges following a terrifying incident on board a Boston-bound flight.
I will kill every man on this plane.
According to court documents, about 45 minutes before landing the cross-country trip from Los Angeles, the flight crew was notified that an emergency exit door on the plane had been disarmed. A flight attendant discovered the door's handle had been moved out of the fully locked position. Another flight attendant reporting 33-year-old Francisco Torres had been near the door, leading the crew to believe he had tampered with it. When confronted, Torres allegedly responded, asking if there were cameras to prove it. Witnesses say that's when he got out of his seat, approached two flight attendants in the aisle, and allegedly attempted to stab one of them in the neck 3 times with a broken metal spoon.
We started hearing his voice get louder and louder. He was clearly agitated.
Passengers on board the plane, seen in this video shared by witness Lisa Olson, tackled and restrained the suspect.
There were probably 4 or 5 men that restrained him on the ground.
Torres later admitting to investigators he knew if he opened the door, many people would die. Also claiming self-defense during the altercation, saying he made the weapon on board in the bathroom.
Just how unusual is this degree of violence?
It's extraordinarily unusual, but it doesn't take that much to take a lot of everyday items and turn them into weapons.
It comes as we're learning new details about Torres. In 2015, he was ordered by a court to undergo a psychiatric evaluation, according to a lawsuit he filed against a hospital years later, in which he alleged he was misdiagnosed with a mental health disorder. In that suit, Torres, who represented himself, sought $50 billion and a license to carry and use, if necessary, any type concealed or unconcealed firearms and explosives on any commercial transports. The case was later dismissed. United Airlines says it has zero tolerance for any type of violence on our flights, adding this customer will be banned from flying on United pending an investigation.
Emily, this was a very long flight. He behaved this way that we saw on camera 45 minutes before landing. Any indication of what was happening before that?
So even before this 5.5-hour flight took off, Torres appeared to show some kind of interest in the emergency exit door. Investigators say he actually asked one of his fellow passengers about where the door handle was located on the safety car during the initial safety briefing. He's due in court later this week. If convicted, he could face up to life in prison.
All right, Emily, thank you so much.
Okay, so y'all just heard that audio clip right there. And I'm going to be honest with you, this right here is probably one of my biggest nightmares or biggest fears when it comes to flying. Some people have fears of the plane getting ready to take off. Some people have fear when it comes to some turbulence. And I experienced that quite a bit when I was going out to LA. Some people have fear when they're coming in for a landing because, you know, when they turn that autopilot on, everything just kind of mellows itself out and it's almost like you're just flying, you're floating. And then once they take that autopilot off, then that's when you kind of feel it. Or even coming in for a landing, or fear that you're going to get caught up in a storm while flying. Those are all fears. But this one right here is a fear of mine for sure, that I would be on a plane with someone who does not need to be flying because clearly their mental is completely and utterly unhinged. This dude right here should have, first off, should have never been able to fly, considering his history. The part that got me in the audio is when they said that they did a mental evaluation on him back in 2015, and they pretty much said that this guy's mentally unstable, and he tried to sue them for $50 billion so he could carry certain items on the plane. Like, you should have saw the look on my face. Like, they probably look at this guy one time in this case and threw that thing right on out, and I'm glad that they did. He did not deserve no $50 billion, and even if he did, so he wasn't going to get nowhere near that much. It's no way. I have not seen anybody sue for that amount of money and actually win. Like, that's insane. But you can look at this guy right here and tell he is off his rocker. And believe it or not, he's 33. He's the same age as me. And he looks way older. Now, some of you have probably seen the footage from this incident, and some of you may have not, but this guy looked like, you heard some of the audio right there. He said that he's going to kill everyone on this plane, or people's going to die or something like that. Then he starts to go and make this hand gesture as if he was holding a bow and arrow. And I'm like, what the hell is he doing? I said, they need to get this guy now. And then he runs to the front of the plane, and that's when they tackle him, and he gets tackled by a few people, which would explain why he has that little marking right above his, what is that, his right eyebrow, I believe. And they finally get him. And the other thing that would piss me off about this is that this is a long flight. They said this is a 5.5 hour flight, which means they're probably flying from the East Coast to the West Coast, or the West Coast to the East Coast. And from Los Angeles to Boston, which means they may have had to divert this flight and do an emergency landing because of him, which messes up everybody's travel. I am so glad. And I'm a knock on wood right quick that hopefully I don't have to end up in a situation like this. And I'm glad that I've never been in a situation where something like this has occurred. I feel like if you have to like maybe do a mentally check before anyone flies, if it comes to that, then so be it, because you have to ensure the safety of everyone that's on these planes, because everyone's not in their right state of mind. This guy right here is a prime example of that. And like I said, it's scary. You got people on these planes. You have a little bit of everybody. You got men, women, and children. And some of them may not be at their best mental capacity, in the sense of maybe they might have a disability or something along those lines. And you got this creep who probably has little tiny people dancing in his head while watching God knows what in his brain, telling him to do this and to do that all at the same time. This guy probably has a whole multiversal timeline in his head. But I'm glad they was able to tackle him, and they need to charge him to the fullest extent of the law. And if he has to do life in prison, so be it, because this guy literally was a huge disturbance on that plane, and he was making threats that could have caused people their lives and himself. He was a danger to everyone, including himself, on that plane. So if they decide to throw the book at him and give him life, hey, I think it would be best that he would stay behind bars where he's more grounded and more under watch than being out in society, especially in anybody's plane. It almost makes me wonder how he was outside of a plane. Did he try to attack any Uber drivers, any Lyft drivers? If he took Uber or Lyft, how was he, just walking down the street? Or he just decided to do his grand performance on this airline.